as most of you know, I don't usually do a lot of the talking on these shows, but I am a Southern California family law attorney. I represent exclusively men, realistically statewide. I'm based out of Riverside, California, just outside of Los Angeles, but we represent men from San Diego all the way up to Northern California, Modesto, San Jose, Stockton, and all I do is work in the family courts. So on a daily and weekly basis, I see and hear just about everything through consultations, through being in court. So I'm going to provide you a little bit of my experience as being a person that's went through the family court system and someone who interacts with it every single day as an attorney. So really, I want to it's my top 10 points that I make to men that I represent. And I want to walk through these, and I'm sure this is going to spur some questions as well, too. So what are some of the biggest mistakes men make? I think number one is we fail to control the controllables. That may be a little bit of a sports term that some of the athletes have heard from their coaches, but it also applies to family court. So we can control how we talk. We can control how we act, and we can control what we do. So on the talking piece, every single consultation, every single conversation I have with a man, the number one way that men get themselves in trouble is what they say or what they text, what they send in an email, what they say on Talking Parents. My biggest piece of advice when it comes to that is that you need to be brief. You need to be extremely positive. I describe it as being uncomfortably positive. No matter how much you hate your co-parent at that moment in time, you have to be extremely positive. And then we want to be directly about the child. We don't want to get drawn into back and forth. We don't want to get into arguments because I think it would be a lot of individuals' opinions that men's words are held to a different standard than that of women when going through family court. So there's some things that women can say and get away with that men will not. And in many of the states, I know Nevada, California, some of these states have domestic violence laws written where those mean texts can get you in a lot of hot water. Controlling how we act. That's going to be a conscious decision, no matter how frustrated we get, no matter how angry we are. Those are real and reasonable emotions given the situation. But we have to be able to take a step back and realize that in a lot of instances, we're going to have to prove we're a fit and good father. Where the mom may be presumed to be a fit parent, we're going to want to every single step of the way give the judge zero reason to believe that we're less than a fit parent. And then controlling what we do. So I a lot of times associate with that face-to-face interaction. A lot of times the face-to-face interaction with your co-parent is something that's unavoidable. Yeah, we can design plans where school is the drop-off pickup, but you're going to have to be face-to-face with them. And then also you're going to be confronted by your children with tough questions. And we have to be able to take a step back and understand that everything we say, everything we do could be used against us. So controlling the controllables, that's such a huge piece in terms of being successful. And a lot of times that starts even before we enter the court system. The number of times that men come to me with already having domestic violence restraining orders, or one has been filed because they've said things they shouldn't. And realistically, it was a heat of the moment. They may have not really meant it, but that's something that can have long-lasting impact on your relationship with your children. Number two, this is another one where it's a mixed bag. Some men are really good at it, other men not so much. And that is documenting what goes on. So I advise all men, you should have a journal and a calendar. The journal, you can document any interactions, for example, telephone calls, drop-offs, anything like that. Doctor's appointments, you can keep all the kids' information, when you've done certain things with them, what you've done. I see men even go as far as they document each day they have their child, what they did, what they ate, all of that stuff. A lot of times that can be overboard, but it can come back to protect you if you have documented everything that's gone on. And number two is that calendar. So especially before there's a judgment, you may be one of those situations where you're arguing over how much time you've actually had the child in terms of calculating child support. If you can go back and you already have a calendar created, that can carry a lot of weight with judges that, hey, this individual is documenting this, he's keeping the kids on a schedule, and that can be looked at very favorably. And I'll move on to point 3 here, educating yourself. And I think educating yourself comes in two ways. Number one is educating yourself on experiences that men have had going through family court, whether that be most recently and notably, we have the respondent, Greg Ellis's book that's come out, where he talks about his experiences here in the family court in Los Angeles, a courthouse that I'm in probably every other week. And there are numerous other individuals who have written about their experiences going through family court. But the most important piece to educate yourself on is what the laws are in your state. So, for example, I have here, and this book usually sits on my desk when I talk to men, and it is the Family Code. Pretty thick book. You're looking north of 700 pages. But when it comes to family court, your emotions, your feelings don't matter. What you need to understand is how the situation fits in the family code of your specific state. Other states don't matter. It's going to be specific to your state. But understanding what goes into the determination, because each state outside of Kentucky and Arkansas use that best interest standard. But how do they codify that? What do they ask for the judge to evaluate on? Those can be slightly different. And so knowing those things can help you start to build your case. And then number 2, and this one's one that's been made a lot easier by COVID, is processes and procedures. Understanding how the mechanics of the court work. Now, a lot of states, these things are live streamed on YouTube. You can go into a court hearing on YouTube and watch how it happens. You can go find a case that maybe is in a similar position and watch what the judge does. So you understand what's going on when you walk into court. Now, that could be whether you're pro se or whether you have an attorney. Just having that knowledge can provide you a level of comfort. And number 4, building your case. So a lot of men come in and they're all over the place. This is an extremely emotional situation. And it's involving the most important piece of your life, your children. And we have all of these really strong emotions, really strong feelings, and we want to put those into the case. That's how we want to build our case. But ultimately, how much you want to be with your child, how much you want to spend all the time in the world with them, may not have any impact on your case itself. You need to be able to take a step back, look at the facts, and run it through what those factors are in determining custody. Because that emotional piece is going to get you really nowhere. And on top of that, or I guess in addition to that, this is kind of tying the things together in terms of documenting and then educating yourself on the laws. You want to be able to tie these facts into your arguments. So if you go look at a declaration or a brief that's been written by an attorney, a lot of times it will say, Sally sent a text message to John saying this. See Exhibit 3. And that text message is right there attached. Then Sally did this. See text message or see Exhibit 4. And they have the evidence and proof. A lot of times we get into family court with this he said, she said. We want to be able to provide as much documentation as we possibly can. So that's going to be a huge part of this. Going in there and just stating on the record or testifying to things can be powerful. But if you can back that up with documentation, it's going to take it to that next level. And then the last piece is ultimately, no matter the situation, no matter what you have going on, you got to be a good dad. Like I said in the first point, a lot of times as a father, you're going to have to prove you're a fit and able parent. And so you're going to have to actually be a great dad when you have your kids, and it's going to have to appear that way from the outside, because that's what the judge, that's what an evaluator, that's what the people who are going to be making the decisions are going to see. And most importantly, one of the biggest challenges is a quick case in family law court is 3 to 4 months. And I know we probably have individuals on here who have been in the system for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Is just not giving up, continuing to do all the right things. There may be things happen. There will be things happen that may not appear to be fair. We just have to continue to be there for our kids and continue to work and continue to try. So those are kind of my 5 major points that I go over with really every client. A lot of times I'll tie in more California specific stuff, but controlling the controllables, documenting everything, educating yourself, whether you're pro se or whether you have an attorney, you need to educate yourself, and building your case, taking the emotion out of it and basing it in fact. And then the 5th one, being a good dad.